It was hard. It was hard putting down the drink so young, but I knew I had to, right?
I had freedom for a couple years. I had no responsibility. Nobody knew where I was. Nobody knew what I was doing. I was just all over the different states, everywhere. Not that I was doing anything wrong, but it was like zero progress. It was just like, what do you want this freedom?
You're a wild man at heart, right? This free spirit. And that's, I think, why people like being around you. Is
I love my kids, though, man. That is the best thing that,
Yeah.
That gives me now my reason, okay, continue to do better. Hey, what's cracking, everybody? Indestructible Joy is the name of the podcast. Relatively new. Reason is just for expression, get you to think a little bit, and at the end, make your life a little better, be a little bit happier. So welcome to the show. Got my guest, my man with me. No words for this dude. We'll find out more about him, but welcome to the show. Here we go. All kind of new, still kind of a white belt at this, so hope you love it.
What's happening, brother?
Eric. It's great to be here. It took a minute to get here, but great to be here.
Yeah, we've been putting this together for a while.
A lot of good stuff to help.
Yeah, help men, help women. I think
the whole deal.
I think there's, you and I talk a lot about the importance of, I think, strong men in the world. And sometimes I think people get turned off by the term strength because they think about might, right? And they think about somebody that just takes what they want. And I don't think that that's what we're talking about, right? I think what we're talking about is like that strong guiding hand to help people navigate through, I don't know, the dangers of life, the challenges of growing, and just being that sturdy force in people's lives, in our communities, and everywhere that we go.
And I think you can also argue that there's people that are pretty intentional about putting that away and putting that down and turning that down. And it's almost a point where, if you decide to say, hey, I'm a man, it's like a bad thing. But it's actually, it's the way we're designed. It's the way we're built. You have a role as a man. You want to say you're a man? Okay, well, if you're not serving those around you, what does that mean?
Right.
That's your measurement. How safe your world feels around you. There's some measurements that we don't use anymore that you kind of take a step back and go, everybody's just kind of free for all. Who's fucking in charge?
Yeah.
Who's going to be a fucking man? Step up, say, no, this is how we fucking do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think when I want to quantify what a man is, right? I think when a male goes from boyhood to manhood is when they are taking care of the people around them.
Right.
I think age doesn't represent manhood. There's a lot of people that are, above the age of 18, 20s, 30s, even 40s that are acting like little boys that are not taking care of anybody.
That's a great definition of it.
Yeah. So, and I think that is a good way to make that demarcation. I think, have I gone from being self-serving? Because a lot of times your 20s, for a lot of us in this culture, it's just about having a good, you're finding yourself. Everything's about 20s. You. It's about you, your friends. You know what I mean? There are people that fall into, going to jail and doing all that stuff. And we'll dive into that in a minute. But I think real manhood takes place when the responsibility is
that word.
Outside yourself.
Not even my favorite word, but man. You wrestle with it. You got to have it. You want to be a man.
It's funny. You say that, right? It's not your favorite word, but then I look at your life and all the people that you are responsible to. Like, you have a business that employs a bunch of people and gives them tremendous opportunities. You have three kids that you have an incredible relationship with, and everywhere you go, I think people are happy to see you. So,
right on, man.
So I think like it's funny the way that you have your idea about being responsible to people.
Yeah. Hey, but nobody's harder on themselves than themselves.
But the way that you show up, I think, to the people that are in your life is you show up pretty responsible in my experience of you.
Right on. I appreciate that.
So I think one of the most fascinating parts of your life, I mean, Tommy's got a fucking crazy story, and I'm sure we'll get into that at later dates. We'll be doing podcasts together regularly because we got lots to talk about. But
there's levels, because his is about 2 levels crazier.
But I want to hear, man, about your time in the church and what sort of brought you into that, and then where you decide, because you have this really unique experience with the church of being a pastor that a lot of people followed, and then you made an exit from that.
We broke up.
You broke up with the church essentially, and I think it's a fascinating story.
Yeah. Well, I give you the quick version. Seeking God, got saved at this big church and just jumped all in like I do anything. I mean, it's literally the time I was selling crack in Las Vegas for about a year and a half. Talk about that another time, all the trouble that came with that. Quit all that, quit drugs, and just seeking God, jump in, Bible college, serving everywhere. Jedi mind trick, boom. I'm at a pastor at a mega church, biggest church in San Diego. Yeah, I'm not going to say the name of it, the Rock Church. Huge. But it was actually a great experience. A lot of great people there. Glad it's over. I did 12 years and I went all in. I was all the way up to the executive level. And there's a lot of great stuff about church. We did outreach that was insane. We had over 200 ministries. There was 3,000 volunteers on a monthly basis. I mean, it was a lot of good stuff going on there. But there was a lot of, it just at the end, it got weird.
So are you open to telling me what that means, or telling the audience what it got weird mean? Like, what's,
you know what? To be honest, one day
I
I woke up and I just thought, I'm tired of being right. Tired of it being, you're going to hell if you don't believe like us and everyone else is wrong and we're right. It was a moment of clarity where I just took a step back. I was like, whoever's right, I don't care. I don't want to be that guy anymore. Right. It tells everybody they got to be this. And then, some things happen. Oh yeah, this is actually a great story because they, let's see how much of this guy really want to go into. Once they had a mark on you there, it's like the curse, you're done. And, I had a whole army underneath me, and I had said from the podium one time, I just came out. I said, I don't really think, because a lot of theologians don't believe in a literal hell. So I had said, I don't even believe in a literal hell. I think it was just made up by religious people to control the masses. Boom. That was
wow. And so that
it's a 15,000 people church. So then they tried to sit down and horseshoe me and get me to recant and say this, that, and the other. And I was like, I remember standing up and just saying, man, I wasn't even afraid of the Las Vegas Police Department. Why do you think I'm afraid of a bunch of church people? Like I want, as soon as I'm being bullied, I'm out.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, and then when you take a look at it, you really, the whole thing is bullying. It really is. I mean, it doesn't have a lot to do with Jesus, religion. Now, don't get me wrong. Amazing people there. It's like anything else. At 15,000, you're going to have, 1% is going to be nuts, 150, right. And 1% is going to be, the best. Yeah, so use at your own risk. I wouldn't drink the Kool-Aid. I think it's like perfume. You're supposed to go by Sunday and smell it, but just don't drink it. Because to go all in professional Christian, man, that's an interesting world.
So what I'm hearing is that you had sort of a come to Jesus moment of your own.
Well, the funny thing is my faith is, I would say my faith stronger in Jesus than ever, but it's almost like that doesn't have to be the only way. I don't even know if that's the way. I don't know. I was told that. I've been checking out, I love this. I love checking out other faiths. Been going to a mosque, Ramadan's coming. That's their big month where they do fasting. Yeah. I just love what they're doing. It's like, what better way to find out about it? Because every time I go there, I realize, all they do is get together and pray.
Yeah.
So where's the boogeyman?
Excellent. My wife's Muslim, and actually, Eid, which is the end of Ramadan when they begin fasting and joining, which you may experience as you come to the end of this, but I actually had to propose to my wife. Well, what I thought was going to be a proposal. So I went to celebrate Eid.
Wow.
In Singapore with my wife's very traditional Muslim family. Great people, right? Beautiful people. Wow. But I'm this white infidel. I just got my anarchy tattooed on my hand. Right? So they're bringing me. So I get dressed up in all the traditional garb and stuff like that.
Good for you, man.
And I go and, I'm getting a couple looks, but mostly everybody's nice. And then I had expressed to Azima that I wanted to have a talk with her father to ask for her hand in marriage to him first. And then I was going to do a traditional, proposal. Yeah. Well, what happened was we got back to the house. They brought the entire family, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, in the living room and basically sat me down and asked me a bunch of questions and like what my intent was, et cetera, et cetera. And it was like, totally caught me off guard. It's not what I thought was going to happen, but I probably should have recognized it wasn't going to be the traditional way that I am accustomed to, right? So Yeah, dude, I sucked it up and I handled it, but it was I got through it. But man, that was like, and I saw everybody come into the living room. I'm like, wait, why is all these people here? Like, what's going on? Right? Am I asking? I didn't know it was happening, but it was a cool experience, man. I'm glad it happened that way because it was just
That's awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah. So it was a little bit of it was tough at first, like. There was definitely some resistance to me being.
Oh yeah, when you cross those, I experienced the same thing. My kid's mom is Korean, very traditional. First time I met them, I remember we sat down. We got home. We got there at like 11, and it wasn't like we sat down on some comfortable couches. There were some chairs that were like, they were like this, and they sat down, and it was definitely a grilling experience. It was definitely like, what are you? Who are you? And why are you?
Did you have all those tats?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I did. Not all of them. I had maybe, most of them.
Enough for them to judge
not
you.
The neck one, not so much the aloha on the neck.
Yeah. That's crazy. And so as you were making this entrance or departure from the church, right? Was that a difficult transition? Did it just happen? Or
that was a blast. That was the funniest story because I had a whole army that reported under me and no one came and talked to me. Nobody came and talked to me face to face. Nobody came face to face. They just started going to everyone that reported me, said, hey, you now report to this person. You now report to this person. Pulled them all apart. And then they fired someone who was, she ran my whole operation. She was my operation. She was amazing. KJ was her name. And that just set me off. And so I went to war with them. So I thought, okay, let's drop gloves. And, if other people, she just had a baby, if other people are going to lose their job just because of me and everyone's moved around and let go, I mean, I get it. It cut me out.
Right.
I would have been better if someone just came to me and said, hey, obvious not working. If you're going to say shit like that, you got to go. I respect that. No one did. It wasn't until, then no one reported to me. So I'm sitting in my office one day and I'm like, wait, nobody reports to me. What am I doing here? So I stopped coming. And it wasn't until 8 months later till finally someone would meet with me. And it was a lawyer actually. And he gave me this big old document, this is your severance. And I was like,
was there any NDA in there?
Oh, there was some stuff I couldn't say this, that. There's a lot of stuff I couldn't say. I couldn't say this on social media, that on social media. And, won't give all the details, but it was like, okay, peace.
Uh-huh.
Wow. I wish they'd just made it forever, but anyway.
Yeah, it's, I think there's a lot of different ways people can approach their relationship to God or their spiritual relationship, right? I think it gets real weird when people start in with a right and wrong way. When people start getting involved in condemnation.
Start to say, this is
the only way.
You're wrong. Yep. Amen.
Here's my thing, right? Right now, there's a globe of whatever, 8 billion or so people, okay, give or take. And all these different people all over the world, right? And when these religions were formed, they were formed within like a fucking maybe a 50-mile radius, you know what I mean? Or probably smaller than that even, right? 50 miles is probably a tremendous amount of, so just
depends on which brother you decide to roll with.
Exactly, right? In these different regions with their very own cultural flair, and then you're going to say, no, this is the way, right? And then this guy...
If you think about it long enough, it just falls apart.
It starts to fall apart. Yeah, like that's my thing. None of these ones that talk about right way, wrong way, or like what I would call the punishing religions, or the theology of punishment. None of them stand up to scrutiny when you start asking questions. I remember I was in religious education, so I was raised Catholic, and I had to go to this class to make my communion and eventually confirmation once a week. And I fucking hated it. Me and my brother both hated it. My mother made us go, super like, Christian Catholic guilt trip all the time. And
Catholic high school, baby.
So I was gearing up to make the confirmation. So I had to go to my what we called religion class.
So you went all the way through. So you were baptized, first communion, which is like 8
Didn't make my
old.
confirmation though.
And then, okay, but you're on the way.
So I was on the way. I'm going to this class and I'm asking questions the teacher can't answer. So I said, so what about people that are born in the Amazon that never seen a white person before, let alone a Bible? Are they going to go to hell because of where their creator put them in this location? If God made everybody and he put these people in a location where they would never see a Bible, he's going to make them go to hell?
I've asked that question 100 times. I've never got an answer.
Never got an answer.
Their own opinion. Yeah. And they just make these jumps and it's like, okay, I can just make stuff up too.
Yeah. It was like, well, if they really wanted to, they'd find. I'm like, you're really satisfied with that answer.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just felt like bullshit to me. It felt like the same thing when I started asking old timers in AA how they felt about psychedelics. And then I would start bringing up Bill Wilson using acid, and they're like, "Whoa, he had a doctor helping him," and I was like,
"It's always an explanation."
You're really satisfied with that.
To their narrative,
right.
It's amazing that it jumps.
So anyway, the teacher can't answer my question. She's getting frustrated. I'm already like just on the verge of becoming a career criminal anyway, and so
it's a good time.
She goes to the head priest of the parish, Father McDonald. Father McDonald pulls me out of religion class for creating doubt and distract in the mind of the other kids and
questioning it.
For questioning.
Oh.
Well, the religion teacher kicked me out. Father McDonald met with me each week. He would meet with me once a week. No funny business. He was a good guy. And he would talk to me, and I would tell him everything. Yeah, I hang out in the woods behind the church, and I drink 40s with my friends, and just tell him about my life and my beliefs. And after about a month and a half of meeting with him, he pulls my mom in, and he told her, this is one of the coolest things that's happened in my life. He told my mom, Eric has his own ideas about God. He's going to be fine. I don't think you should force him to make his confirmation if he doesn't want to.
Wow.
My mom was pissed.
Wow.
But I was victorious, right? And she was trying to, well, how do you think you're? I'm like, I don't care how anybody feels. This is my relationship with God, and I do not feel it here. And so I wasn't willing to do that. Like my principles at that age, like 12, 13, 14, they were already like pretty strong. Like, and I was not going to do anything I didn't want to. I stopped doing homework in like the 4th grade.
Yeah, it didn't go too good for me. I
was just like, this just felt silly to me. And it's funny. And maybe I do this too in my own way, right? But everybody's got their idea about how people are supposed to live, right?
Oh, I do.
And I think it's worth checking in with, because my parents had an idea about how I was supposed to live. Yeah. I remember I just had a counselor from when I was in a group home send me a message. He was like, dude, I just had this memory of you running around the perimeter of this home. This was a state-ran facility for kids with behavioral problems and substance abuse, mental or emotional problems, right? So I would run and train every day with I got my UFC gloves on, and because I wanted to be like, this is 1998, right? Yeah. I'm running around the perimeter with my gloves on because that's the only thing that was keeping me going. And he was like, yeah, all the counselors would say him being a professional fighter is completely unrealistic, right? And like they never told me that, but they told him, and he laughed because he always like encouraged me to follow whatever was on fire for me at the time. I'm 18, I got nothing. Dude, I'm barely staying alive by being in this facility, and so he nourished whatever dream that I had, and he's like, I hope they can see what you did with all that.
That is tremendous. There's always that one person.
Yeah, it's great, dude. I think, and it's like
it doesn't matter the religion, because you take all that out, you'll find really cool. Some of the greatest people I met,
for sure.
I mean, that's where my kid's mom I met. So the whole, as much as the whole control and I'm right, you're wrong, I'm done with. The community was,
and
I tend to bash a little bit, so I got to throw that.
yeah. But no, that's cool. And I think you're right? There's always great people in everything. I think whenever it comes down to the governance, and governance starts seeking to control.
And where I was at, because everyone knew who I was, when I left, they came at me with, it was kind of, I had interventions. People were sitting down saying, I need to fall under the authority. So it was kind of like, it just got funky.
Yeah.
So I started really looking into it, and I started, I started really going down the rabbit hole of who's Apostle Paul. You know what I mean? It's just because Jesus had some great stuff, but then it kind of gets weird. And when you look into who is Jesus to other religions, you kind of go, maybe they get him better than the church in a weird way. You're like, wow, how's that?
If you want to look at the history, there's the Council of Nicaea that happens like in Constantinople, where they basically threw out all the spiritual learnings from the Bible. Anything that had people go internally.
That's not the way the Christians spin that. What happened there? They say God came down and gave, gave them the
if
religion.
That feels good to you, and you can actually sit with
maybe
that.
You're right, maybe not, but
that don't work for me. Personally, that don't work for me. I see the hand of man all over
zero
that
fear
shit.
of hell. That never worked on me. So whenever they said that, I was like, no.
Well,
Never.
because you've lived in hell. Like you've lived.
Exactly.
Look. You've lived. You and I have both lived
man.
separate from walking a path.
Oh, separate from God. That's
Right.
hell.
Yeah.
And I've been
that's
separate
hell.
from God.
Yeah.
I have been separate from God.
Yeah, you've lived separate from
Or
God.
tried best I could.
So for the audience, my audience that's watching that doesn't know you, tell them what separate from God looks like when, just where you were at in Las Vegas. And
Okay, separate from God. I mean, just a quick nutshell. 19 arrests by the time I was 23 years old. 0 trips to jail since then. 11 of them were in Las Vegas in a 2-year period of time.
Clark County.
I was literally just out there trying to have fun. I wanted to be in the mafia or something like that. I thought that would be a good role from Nebraska.
Are you even Italian?
No, 0% Italian. Don't even know a freaking Italian person.
Just gonna join them
in Vegas. 2 years just standing right out front of Circus selling crack and just balling. Like it was this is 1992.
Jesus.
Crack was off the hinge in Vegas.
The strip was a little dirtier back then.
Everything was down there by Circus. It was a nightly thing.
Yeah.
And it was just, you sell a little crack, you smoke a little crack, you try and get that balance. I mean, I was winning. I didn't have a place to stay or anything. I was just sleeping in a car wash, but in my mind couldn't tell me I wasn't winning.
Wow.
And, the cops were obviously not my best friends out there. But I had some great experiences when I think about it. I'm not going to go all into them, but a lot of things where I'm like, wow, I'm fucking glad that happened. I'm glad I could see that happen. You ever had a helicopter light shine on you? Not everyone's experienced that. No. So I'm like, I can tell you can't run from that shit.
If you had to speak to like the moment that stands out the most that would signify living separate from God, what is it?
For sure.
Tell me about that.
So couple things happen. Last time I'm in court, because what they do is they stack up charges and then they just let you out an OR and then they drop the charges. That was their system. So you spend a day, 2 weeks in jail. And the last time the judge said, if I even see you wandering in the hallways of the court, you're going to do hard time. And I just remember thinking, I don't want to go to prison. I was just trying to have fun. But when he threatened that, I was like, wow, I'm just selling.
So really in your head, you're still at the point of, I'm just trying to have fun.
I'm just trying to have fun. That was what I was there. That's when I realized this wasn't going to be fun because I hated jail. I can't even
only
relate
imagine
to the
how much you hate jail. You hate being told what to do, period, dude.
It was just horrible. And then that night or whatever, I was high on a bunch of drugs, ate a bunch of LSD, and I was looking over the city, and I just remember seeing like that. It's going to sound weird, believe it or not. I don't care. Hallucinated, whatever it was. Like legions of demons, like over the city of Las Vegas. And
on LSD.
Yeah. And I was like, there was part of me that it was like I was drifting a river towards it. And it was like, you got to go. And it was literally behind me. I pointed and it was like San Diego. But it was like, you got to go because that's where you're going if you don't.
Wow.
And I had moved. It was probably 4 days later.
No way.
Yeah, I ran.
Just got some money together and got down here?
No, a girlfriend talked her into moving there instead of Berkeley. She actually went on to be a doctor, but she needed her residency. So for a few months, we came to San Diego. Then she moved to Berkeley, and I was like, San Diego.
Wow. How long ago was that?
That was in 1991.
Wow.
Yeah, 1991.
No way. Jeez. How old were you at the time?
I was, everything was done by 23. So this was 20, 21, 22, 23. Turned 21 in Vegas, got thrown through the window of the Fitzgerald Casino.
Yeah.
And ended up with some charges that they attacked me anyway.
Yeah.
Of course it wasn't me.
Right.
But anyway.
So you were 23 when you stopped drinking?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And man, I thought I was old back then. I thought like life was over.
Yeah. It was hard. It was hard putting down the drink so young, but I knew I had to, right? I was like, I'm gonna
there was every time. It was not a
pretty
I can't imagine if we had
shocking. Yeah, it would have been horrible. It was a pretty well accepted fact. I remember being in high school, like I don't think nobody thought I was gonna live to see 20 or 21.
I didn't want to live
to
30.
Yeah. I didn't either. I thought, man, by the time I'm 30, I'd rather be dead than be old. So now I'm like 43. I'm like, oh my God. I'm not ready to go yet. But yeah, putting down the drink when you have nothing else and you don't know how to be with yourself or people any other way.
Right.
Right. I think that's what some people who are not familiar with substance abuse, particularly like addiction to alcohol or whatever, is that the alcoholic, and man, I feel pretty good saying this is a blanket statement because I've talked to thousands of alcoholics over the years. There's this just internal dis-ease of not being okay with me, right? And it comes from such a deep place. And if you're one of those people that finds alcohol changes that, it doesn't change it for everybody, right? There's a lot of people that have a dis-ease inside with who they are at a fundamental level, right? And I didn't like myself from a fundamental level from like, I don't know, second grade, probably earlier than that. I remember in kindergarten feeling like that.
Alcohol works. When
and
it
alcohol works.
Drink, you're like, you know what? I feel fucking fine. Matter of fact, I'm the motherfucking king.
I feel fundamentally amazing now instead of fundamentally I hate myself, you know?
Yeah.
So
I am the guy.
Yeah. So for me, from 13 on, it was on.
Yeah.
It was on. The minute I drank intentionally to get drunk. I had sipped beer before that as a young child, but I never drank to get drunk until I was 13. And the moment I did that, like this magic came over, and all the uneasiness that I sat with on a regular basis.
So relate to that. It suddenly fit in.
Yeah. And it was like, well, so when that is your experience, right? When your experience separate from alcohol is that you don't fit in, you don't belong, and there's something wrong with you, and you find something that helps you feel like you're okay.
Right.
You'll do anything you can to feel that way.
And I think most people, the fundamental problem with that is it's so socially acceptable. Everyone assumes in their mind they can quit, and they can't.
Yeah.
If you have that, you see it so clear, and you can call them on, but no way. They're the life of the party, because other people who drink are always going to be like,
What was interesting for me, because I was the train wreck I was a full-blown addict alcoholic at like 14, 15, right? So everybody knew I was a disaster. I got sober at 23. Watching kids I went to school with or grew up with later become alcoholics in their adulthood, that was kind of wild, because they weren't those just off the rails. And, maybe their house wasn't.
The train didn't just crash.
No.
With me and you, the car crashes. There's no way of surviving.
Yeah.
That's a slow burn pain, because that's all my friends in Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of them, but a lot of them, that's what they do. They chill at the bar, they drink.
Yeah. Different type of alcoholism,
Yeah.
right? Still miserable and has all the bad things that go along with it.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah, man, I'll say this. There's a gift that comes with the desperation of having that car crash alcoholism, like that red line
there's nowhere
alcoholism.
else to go.
My friends I had some friends that would laugh. They're like, dude, every time you go out, which is except for Tuesday, because your body can't handle it by Tuesday. You usually take Tuesday off. But every other day, you try to come to as close to killing yourself as possible without actually achieving it. And that was literally my intention. I want to push it right up to the line of having to go to the hospital or something really terrible happening. And for the amount of times I did that, which was probably thousands over the 10 years that I drank into drugs, it's amazing that I only went over that line the amount of times that I did. Where
amazing, still alive.
Yeah,
because it's sometimes people play with death and they just fall off,
and they don't
edge.
make it, dude.
Yeah.
They don't make it.
Yeah, I was ready to go out in a blaze of glory, man. It's good to hear this part of your story, because it's kind of so similar with mine. I had a huge rock of crack. My heart was pounding. I was like, this is it. I'm going out in a blaze. Because I wanted to have a shootout with the police. That always ended up me getting beat up. And I was just like, this is it. I'm going out. And in my mind, I just light this thing. I tried so hard and I didn't die. And I remember waking up the next day going, you know what? I guess I'm unkillable. I can't kill myself. So at that moment, I was like, I might as well figure out how to enjoy this. It was kind of one of those moments of like, okay, well, I can't die and I don't want to be miserable. It was kind of right around the time I got clean and sober.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, when I think about my mindset and like drinking, drinking stopped working for me at, I want to say like 18. Like it didn't do the thing anymore. The magic place was gone for me.
Probably
So
19 for me.
I would go really deep into my own self-loathing after that. And so the abyss was the only place that I wouldn't feel anything. So I had to literally find, as Rick James calls it, the abyss. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I call it the Little Equity Bar right there on El Boulevard.
Yeah.
Little dive. I just sat there and died.
Yeah. It's man, what a shitty place to be, but the flip side of that, I did really want to live, right? There was a part of me that didn't want to deal with life anymore. In fact, sometimes I'd get a lot of clean streaks. So I had been from 17 to 23, I was actually probably sober more than I was drinking, because I was in and out of institutions and attempts at getting sober and long-term treatment care facilities. I'm talking like 9 months to a year treatment care facilities. And then like I would get out and just start running.
Oh, wow. See, I never went gone through those.
Yeah. And I remember like I'd be sober for like 9 months. And the way that I would justify going out and using again was, well, if it really gets bad, I'll just kill myself. And that's how I would talk myself into it.
Because I can relate to that. I'm like, what? I'm going to die anyway.
Yeah, but that's how
I'm tired of paying bills.
That's how I would talk myself past the repercussions that I didn't want to face.
Yeah.
That's how insanely manipulative and sneaky addiction is to get you to do what it wants you to do. Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
and you just end up in a miserable place. But you're not dead. You're still alive. You're like, shit.
Yeah. I'll tell myself that I'll kill myself. And then that helps me move past my resistance to any of the circumstances. And then it would come to it and I wouldn't kill myself. I mean, dude, I'm talking like going on these insane benders, cutting off house arrest bracelets, throwing them in the woods, eating.
That's a lot of layers you got to get to just to understand that about yourself, by the way. That a lot of people will never get to in their own. Because they'll never face a truth like that.
Taking taxi cabs to mental asylums after the trip was done. I was like calling the cab to come pick me up and take me to a mental institution. Right. And I went to the mental institution and I basically just made a fake suicide claim so that they would take me in, and then I could use that fake suicide claim to not violate probation. It worked. I got off felony probation. I got a felony probation in like 2.5 years. That was meant to be 5 years. Getting high the whole time. But the guy was cool though, because I was trying. I just couldn't. And then,
it's just weird. You see some people trying, you want the best for them and then they fall off. And the ones that they break your heart.
Yeah.
That don't get it.
Yeah. I think that's, when you're in this recovery community long enough, I think we'll lose a good handful of people a year to fentanyl.
Every fentanyl.
Yeah.
And people will tell you, they'll be like, oh, it's okay if I'm just a little coke, this, that. All it takes is that they're putting that stuff in all kinds of dope.
Yeah. I'm a former crook, right? I'm not a huge fan of the police myself, although I recognize the need for them. Like I'm not one of those defund the police people. I recognize I just have a problem with authority, right?
When I'm all defunded down.
However, my personal stance on fentanyl, if you're a person that knowingly sells fentanyl, I think street justice on site for those people. Yes. Like that's my personal take on that. You're serving up death to people,
killing people. Yes,
and it's like
no way around it.
Heroin and meth is bad enough.
No way around it, and everybody knows too much of it, they die. Yeah, everybody knows.
Yeah. So my personal opinion on that is, if you knowingly sell fentanyl, I think street justice, whoever, it's an on-site thing, and I'm not going to lose a wink of sleep over it.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, it's just one of those things.
There's a lot of things that, let's talk about street justice. Police don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but if men would regulate, because if you hurt my daughter, I'm not calling the police. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take care of it. I'm the first responder, or any of my kids. Or if something happens to my next door neighbor is getting attacked, I'm the first responder. I'm not calling the cops. I don't buy the idea of like, that's where I think our community breaks down. We're sitting there waiting for the government to come save you. Call the cops, watch how long it takes for them to get there, and watch. Yeah. Come on.
No, I'm with you on that. I think that's another place of overreach. I understand why there's due process and all that. I get it, right? I understand it. I also think in situations like that, like how Cain Velasquez, spent time in jail and, for going after the guy that assaulted his daughter sexually, and apparently he got the wrong guy or whatever. Who knows what the truth? But I'm hyper sympathetic to those cases, like sexual assault.
I have some extreme. That's one of the things I love. Since we're on this, sexual assault, messing with kids, anything like that. That is, Jesus lays it out pretty clear what happens to people like that. It's better to be tied a rope tied around your neck, dropped in the deepest things of water. He said it'd be better to go to hell. That's Jesus' word. So I'm with him on that. street justice and that. Because, is kind of joke about it for who knows what happens in the afterlife, but absolutely. That's one thing I'm strong about men is it's your role to bring justice and peace and safety, because really you're bringing safety by doing that. We found that, that's not something people really recover from.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do better.
I think it is a man's job to create safety. And I think that's, going back to our original thing at the talking point at the beginning of the podcast where we were just talking about how there's a sect of people that want to pull men away from that duty or that role. Safety today may look a little bit different than it did a couple of decades ago because life for a lot of people has gotten so streamlined, so easy, right? I think there's still a room to create physical safety. Absolutely. I think the next frontier for a lot of men though is to begin to learn how to create emotional safety.
Oh yeah.
And I think and that's something I don't think our fathers knew how to do. And I'm speaking broadly. I'm sure there was some that did. Most men that I meet, their fathers did not know how to create emotional safety. They just were not trained in how to do that. I think today we are afforded the opportunity to learn those things. And it's one of the, that stuff, learning how to create emotional safety for me.
Probably more important than the physical.
These days it is,
something
man.
I'm not great at.
Especially
Something you have to try and get better and better and better.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever really get there, but that's what you want.
Yeah. I think it's our responsibility to do that. I think I used to be really angry with, and I still can be angry with the feminist side of things that wants to sort of demean or demonize men is probably a better word than demean.
Yeah.
Demonize men. What I recognize is my feel for the women that are coming from that energy. It's always a very hard, angry energy. They've had a terrible experience with men that couldn't provide safety.
With some feminine men.
Yeah. Feminine men or reactive men.
Well, I mean, not fulfilling their role.
Yeah,
whatever word you want to put on.
Weak men is probably what I would say.
There you go. Weak men that if you don't, because you really start to think, if you're not serving and providing value, what other way is there to measure a man?
Right.
It's so clear we're not here to just live for ourselves.
Absolutely. Right. So
especially. And I can't judge women because I can't understand them. That might be their thing. I'm good. They're beautiful.
Yeah. I think, and so what I mean by strong versus weak, look, if there's a emotionally strong man, then there has to be an emotionally weak man, right? And it's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad person if you're weak in an area. What it means is that it's your responsibility to gain strength, right? Yeah. You gain strength so that you can serve. Wherever I'm weak is an area I can't serve. Now, that doesn't mean I'm bad. It doesn't mean I'm wrong, right? It may mean I'm not fulfilling my role, which is to be out here giving. Right. So I do think it's every man's responsibility today do their work to create the emotional strength that lets these women be at ease. Whenever you run into these women that are the hard, nasty type of feminist, right?
Yeah.
There's different types of feminists for sure. There's so much anger, hurt, and pain behind them. There's no love in their eyes whatsoever. I believe that's the men that they were dealing with at a certain point in their life created that, right? They had a bad experience with some weak men. And so if we want to have a different experience with women, I think more and more and more, it's important to wake up to the fact of, okay, what does strength look like today? Yeah, being strong physically and being able to protect physically, very important. Probably more important is to be able to be emotionally protective, make people emotionally safe so that they can be at ease emotionally.
Man,
that's our job.
That's well said. 100% agree.
Yeah, I think that's our job. And that's why I do what I do, right? That's why.
Yeah, I word it differently. Because I got 3 kids and I got them Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays every week. And I'm always looking at the house to be peace.
Yeah.
Safe. They know they're safe. They know they're, you know what I mean? That's really what I look for. And
sure.
It's them to feel safe. That's why that's why I never have, too much over. Because any kind of drama, I'm like, nah, I can't be around the kids.
Right.
They're good. They're enough. They're enough drama themselves.
I heard
it does take some intentionality too, because the world's out there, you have to kind of push some people back and keep some people away.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like using good judgment on who and what I want my kids around.
Yeah.
I think, that's a parent's responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. I listened to a podcast clip, and I don't know where it came from. I think it was like an ex-football player, and they were talking about breaking the cycle. And the guy's come from abuse, big jack dude, right? And he starts getting broken up because he has it written in his phone of like, I can't yell at my kids before they go to bed and expect them to sleep restfully.
Right.
I can't yell at my kids before they go to school and expect them to have a good day, right? I don't want my voice to become their inner critic.
Right.
And like, you're seeing this monster of a human being, this just absolute machine, just get super emotional as he's reading this. And it's so true, man. It's like, and as I started thinking about it, I was like, God damn, like, that's exactly what my childhood was, like getting yelled at before you go to bed, getting yelled at before you go to school, getting yelled at when you come home.
That's just the old school way. That's how they're programmed.
Yeah.
Our parents, they were broken, or you know what I mean? They had broken ideas of, you know, the what's wrong with you mentality. What's wrong with you? You got to conform. And it just didn't vibe with people. Like,
no, and I really believe a lot of
escalates.
that judgment style of parenting, I really believe it's I think it's a reflection of the church that their parents grew up in. Right, that an extension,
Absolutely.
that judgment is an extension of that form of Christianity.
Yeah. I have kind of a different take, and I got 3 kids. One's 17, amazing kids, 17, 13, coming up on 13 and 9. And I kind of realized they're not mine. They're not mine. They're facilitating through. They got their own life. I already tried forcing my, you know, especially the oldest man. I really tried to get him to do this, you know. And it was like, you know what? He's his own person, and you let him be their own person, make him feel safe. I mean. We got a strategy there. If you're hungry, figure out the food. You're going to survive. I feed them whatever they want from the grocery store, and we'll go get them some meals. But you know, dads do things different. They got to be in survival mode when they come to my house, but they always survive. But I just make it peaceful, make it great over there. But they're not mine. Right. Like they're growing into their other whole being. I just make sure. Okay, every day I make sure they know they're loved. They're just like, we got rules, especially my middle kid. 4 hugs a day. I just make sure I drill in that they're loved. And then in the morning, I got a little thing, because I take them all to school on those days, is first thing they got to laugh. You know, I'll try and make them laugh, whatever. And I do this every day. I wake them up that way and just mess with them till they laugh, till they're in a good mood, and then drive them to school and send them. I mean, it doesn't always work because, you know, kids are sometimes just on their
teenagers
mission.
are assholes.
Oh, man. Oh, bruh. bruh. Yeah, I love my kids though, man. That is the best thing that, you know. Yeah. That gives me now my reason. Okay, continue to do better. At the end of the day, do better is the whole. Yeah. You know, just keep doing better wherever you're at. Progress equals happiness, because happiness is my whole thing. That I kind of realized that's one of the main ones. Yeah, that's actually why I work with you. A quick thing on my coach here. I've worked with. Man, I've gone to every Tony Robbins seminar, Zig Ziglar. I've been with all kinds of different coaches, this, that, and the other. And I got to tell you, man, you have the most unique way of just like this dude. The first conversation I had with him, he was like, hey, have you ever considered the fact that maybe you are really good at lying to yourself? I was like an arrow right through the heart, because I was like, my answer was, there's nobody better. I'm probably fucking ninja level at it. Like nobody can do it better than me. And from there, the insights were just almost like spirit. You know, if we're going to talk about God brings people in your life, brings certain, because it would be almost like I could be passing you at the Kaaba and you'll say something like, okay, God, I know he wasn't just being a dick. He wanted me to hear that. You know, and there's sometimes when I sit down, I just don't want to sit down and confront, because I know that it's like, you're going to make me be honest with myself. Like you have no judgment in you. None whatsoever. You don't give a fuck. Don't care. I know what I do. It took a while to get that. Yeah. You know, not to mention, I remember, and I'm not afraid of nobody. I think I'm ready to go for the most. I actually remember the first time I saw you too. I was like, I ain't fucking with that dude. Some people you see just like, I don't even need to. I'll just go ahead and check that one off anyway. But I appreciate your friendship.
Yeah, no, likewise, man. I think it's and I think it's one of the things.
Friendship and your coaching.
Yeah. Well, look. I think the way I look at our relationship, right? Like what I love about you is what I wouldn't want to change about you. If you're a wild man at heart, right? This free spirit. And that's, I think, why people like being around you, is because your free spirit kind of gives other people permission to be free spirits as well, where a lot of people are kind of locked up. Yeah. Like I would never want to kill that, but I also just, if I can help you be more honest with yourself, right? And support you and just giving you reflection so that you can make the best decision possible for you based off what's actually true.
Because I am still ninja level. If I want something, I'll paint a narrative to like, that's the move.
Yeah, and I'll be like, okay, cool. I see that you see it this way, and like, let's just look at all these other parts too, and let's be really honest. Which one of those is actually the truth for you, right? And then you get to decide. Well, you know what? I think this is true for me, and this is the decision that I make. Or, you know what? This is one thing I might just have to go through this experience and learn from it, right? Without making myself wrong.
That's literally like where we're landing on. That's where the rubber meets the road. Are you willing to do that? Have someone that can really, because man, defenses are, you can't do that to someone that doesn't want it. You know what I mean? You can't, you can see it, but you can't really say. But, you know, even the ones want it, some people don't like to go that deep into what's really going on inside.
Absolutely. And I think like particularly a lot of men in power, right? Powerful positions, own companies, have money, have, you know, people underneath them, right? A lot of guys do not want somebody holding them accountable. A lot of times people build up their empire to not be accountable to anybody, right? Right here. And it's the most dangerous place to be.
I put freedom as my number one thing, and I absolutely, you get what you think about, folks. I had freedom for a couple years. I had no responsibility. Nobody knew where I was. Nobody knew what I was doing. I was just all over the different states, everywhere. Not that I was doing anything wrong, but it was like zero progress. It was just like, what do you want this freedom for?
Now, here's the real question, right? So the idea of freedom being I can do whatever I want. Did it actually feel free?
Hell no.
No, it doesn't feel free. That's the thing.
I'd be Hawaiian like 3 weeks into it. I'd be like, ugh. Like if you don't have something to go after, and it took a while to get this, that's not what I want. Freedom, you know, freedom comes. I got a new word, discipline. You are the one, you know, I hear it all the time, or you know, just in the community. That is what I'm kind of working on because it's a different kind of freedom.
Yeah,
the freedom to do whatever. It's just really a lazy. You just kind of you feel yourself just. Sink into the like, what are we doing here?
And what happens, right? There's a term called entropy, right? And so entropy, anything that doesn't have order to it long enough will move towards chaos, right? If we don't have a direction to move in, we will move towards chaos, right? And so I've experienced that myself. Like, you know, as my business started to grow and explode, and you know, I do pretty well with my business enough that I've got a lot of free time, and I'm not one of those people that thinks you need to fill up your calendar to be maximizing your production all the time. That's not a healthy way to live. That shit's bullshit.
I'm never in danger of that.
But I felt myself moving into entropy, right? I felt myself moving into chaos because there was no direction for too long of a time. I got money coming in, my clients, so everything was just kind of steady because I wasn't moving towards progress, right? I was slowly moving into chaos, and it didn't feel good, right? So the idea of freedom being just having this full menu, it's like going to Netflix, right? And you can't decide what to watch. And so you actually end up not taking any direction. Whereas when I have a goal that I'm aiming for, it narrows my choices down towards, well, what's the best thing to go towards this?
And what's going to knock that off?
Having too much choice is actually not a good thing, right? It's actually, I find it leads to more chaos than anything.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if
I feel like you've had a front row seat to me go through a season of that in my life where I was reaching out and reaching way out to different things that, you know, and you realize it doesn't work.
Right.
You learn a lot more about happiness, things that don't make you happy.
Absolutely.
And when you realize the brain just wants to, you know, it's not where it's at. Yeah. I think you're right on track.
Yeah. So what's the next mountain to climb for Tommy? So you know, like, it's because I think it's important for people to understand, right? Like, so you've got a successful business, right? You got a few different things going on that are doing well financially. So it's not necessarily about more money. What's it about?
I think the big one, I just got called out yesterday to do comedy on March 23rd. So start there. But you know what? It's more getting expression going, getting into, because I think there are certain people like us that we want to express. It's not from my company's fine. This isn't where I'm gonna, you know, looking to And you can send money if you want. Yeah, I'm still ordained, so 10% of your income. But anyway, that's not really, because I think an artist, like I have beautiful art on the wall everywhere. I love art. Is just about express yourself. Doesn't matter who buys it.
Right.
You know, it's almost like the more people can do that. And I just want people to start thinking. Think about what you're believing, what you're telling. You don't have to agree or disagree, but can we at least think about it and not just be,
dude,
I'm right, you're wrong.
I love that. I love that because actually this has been on my mind heavily lately. I've been reading this book called The Artist's Way, and it has some disciplines that it has me doing. It's a fantastic book for anybody, even if you don't consider yourself an artist. But what I actually realized, and I've thought this before, I've always felt more like an artist than anything. So I don't draw, paint, or really make any music, but I think what I look at as my art, the way that I like to express, right, is through the written word. I feel really good at conveying things in my content and social media, and the way that when I'm speaking or having conversation with a person, the art to me is to reflect to them what I'm seeing in a way that they can understand it and see what's true for them, right? And for me, it feels more like art than a job. I feel like that is a way I get to express what I'm experiencing in a way. So even my work with clients, oftentimes, as silly as this may seem, feels more like art than anything. Jiu-jitsu to me feels more like art. It's a way that I express myself through anything. And so I've always felt more like an artist than anything. I think it just got crowded out by the chaos of my early life.
Well, I think you're definitely, your art is that one-on-one. And if I had to word it myself, because I've seen you in action, is right to the heart of the matter. Like somehow, some way, whatever it is, you find that you all the other weeded out bullshit. Because you'll ask me if I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm all over the place, and then so that's a gift. That's a gift. And I worked with a lot of people, and it's a good thing to have. So that's artist shit for sure.
Yeah, clarity, right? It's like, let's create some clarity. Let's see clearly what we're working with.
I would have to say my art is I relentlessly will not stop looking at the bright side. I don't give a fuck.
I know.
It's like I don't care if they keep telling me the world's falling apart. I'm still gonna make jokes. Inappropriately.
No, I admire that, dude. I think it's one of the it is a really cool thing to watch somebody just constantly find the bright side. It's like, man, that is a gift. I've known a few people in my time that can do that, and I'm always envious of that because I think like I'm so intense all the time, you know? But it's like, oh, that would be cool to be able to experience that. And I'm sure it's possible, but yeah, you definitely have a gift for expressing that. I think it's cool. I think it's why people are drawn to you. I think it's why this business works. I think it's why, you create the friendships that you do is because of that. Yeah. If I had to,
I think that the downside to that, or the flip side would be, because things are going really fast. If I'm not trying to look for what's good, I can find, because what's wrong is always there.
Yeah.
But so is what's right. And if I start fixate on what's wrong, I struggled with stuff like that COVID. I was like, let's go to war.
Yeah.
It didn't really.
Dude, that was pretty close.
It didn't really work well with my personality.
No, it was tough. A lot of having to do what somebody else said.
Out the window for a minute.
That was a tough time. I'm glad we're past that. Well, that's awesome. Well, I think that's a good place to put a plug in it for now. I think I really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Yeah, we'll Tommy and I will be doing these pretty semi-regularly together. So we do a lot of work together. And
Eric's also the guy that I bring to my jiu-jitsu school. And he beats everyone up there, and now is texting me relentlessly. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? I'm going this time. I'm going this time. Come on, don't be scared. I appreciate that.
Yeah, likewise. All right,
accountability.
Guys. So that is it for us today.
You know what? Hope you have an amazing day. Hope you got something good out of here. If not, listen to something where you do get something good from.
Yeah, and as always, guys, what would mean the world to me, what would mean the world to Tommy, subscribe and share.
And I'm on Indestructible Joy. Anything? Oh, you know what? I do have a link, free copy of the Aloha from Nebraska Audible book that I recorded in studio.
Right on.
That I'm giving out for the next 30 days. So
very cool.
A little Ramadan gift.
Awesome. All right. We'll see you guys next time.